Chang'an City, 755 AD. An autumn evening. Emperor Xuanzong sits in his palace, writing poetry, watching his beloved Yang Guifei dance. The Tang Dynasty is at the peak of its golden age. China is the wealthiest, most powerful civilization on Earth. But 1,500 kilometers away, General An Lushan is mobilizing 200,000 soldiers. An 8-year civil war is about to begin. The An Lushan rebellion will cause 36 million deaths, 15% of the world's population. The greatest genocide of its time. The emperor will flee. Yang Guifei will be executed by his own soldiers. The capital will burn. The Tang dynasty will never recover. How did the world's most stable empire descend into chaos overnight? The answer is simple. Chinese history operates in cycles. Rise, peak, decay, chaos, new rise. This story has been repeating for thousands of years. Dynasties come, experience golden ages, become corrupt, collapse. Then a new dynasty rises from the ashes. And this story begins in a river valley. In the Bronze Age, with dragon emblazoned banners, the Xia and Shang dynasties. According to legend, the Yellow Emperor, Huang Di, founded Chinese civilization around 2697 BC. He and his successors invented writing, started agriculture, organized society, but these are myths. Real history begins with the Shang Dynasty, 1600 to 1046 BC. Will the harvest be good? Are our ancestors angry? Yes. China's oldest texts are fortune-telling. Shang society was hierarchical. Kings, nobles, artisans, peasants, slaves. Their bronze work was magnificent. Vessels that still amaze museum visitors today. But the Shang ruling class became corrupt. The last kings retreated into palaces, indulged in wine and excess, disconnected from the people. From the west came the Zhou tribe, ready to overthrow them. 1046 BC Me. The Zhui Revolution. King Wu led Zhou armies against the Shang capital. At the Battle of Mui, the Shang army was crushed. The last Shang king burned his palace and died inside. Zhu won. But to legitimize their conquest, they invented a brilliant concept, the mandate of heaven. The idea, heaven grants the right to rule to virtuous leaders. But if a ruler becomes corrupt or tyrannical, heaven withdraws the mandate. Then rebellion becomes legitimate, even righteous. This concept defined Chinese political philosophy for 3,000 years. Every revolution, every coup, every dynasty change used the same justification. The old dynasty lost heaven's favor. We have the new mandate, Zhou's golden age, and decline. Zhou established a feudal system. The king distributed land to relatives and loyal lords, who governed as regional rulers. For centuries, this worked. The economy grew. Iron tools became widespread. Chinese civilization expanded. But feudalism had a fatal flaw. Local lords grew stronger and more independent. By 771 BC, after barbarian tribes killed the Zhou king and sacked the capital, the dynasty moved east to Luoyang. The Zhou king still sat on the throne, but he controlled nothing. China fractured into hundreds of warring states. Chaos had arrived. 770-476 BC, the age of intellectual awakening. The Zhou king remained a figurehead. Real power belonged to regional states, constantly fighting each other. But chaos bred innovation. States desperately sought new ideas to survive. This period produced the 100 schools of thought. China's philosophical golden age. Confucius, 551-479 BC. Confucius saw the chaos and asked, "How do we restore order?" His answer, ritual, morality, family hierarchy, and respect for tradition. Confucius taught 5 relationships: ruler-subject, father-son, husband-wife, older brother, younger brother, friend-friend. Each relationship had duties. Follow them, and society functions harmoniously. Confucianism became the backbone of Chinese civilization for 2,000 years. Laozi and Taoism. Laozi offered the opposite approach. Wu Wei. Non-action. Flow with nature. Don't force things. The best ruler is one whose existence is barely noticed. Where Confucianism emphasized structure, Taoism emphasized spontaneity. Legalists, philosophers like Han Feizi and Shang Yang rejected both morality and nature. They believed in one thing: law. Humans respond to reward and punishment. Make rewards generous and punishments terrifying. The state will be strong. This harsh philosophy would transform China. 475-221 BC. 7 states battle for supremacy. The chaos intensified. Weak states were swallowed. Eventually, 7 major powers remained: Qin, Chu, Zhao, Wei, Han, Yan, Qi. This wasn't medieval chivalry. This was total war. Sun Tzu wrote, "The Art of War. All warfare is based on deception." General Bai Qi of Qin captured 400,000 Zhao soldiers at Changping in 260 BC and buried them alive. A massacre so brutal, it traumatized China for generations. Qin's rise through legalism. The Qin state was initially weak, located in China's mountainous west, but everything changed with Shang Yang's reforms, 356 BC. Shang Yang brought legalism to Qin, abolished hereditary nobility. Only military achievement brought promotion. Gave land to peasants but imposed mandatory military service. Created brutal laws. Collective punishment. If one person in a group commits a crime, all are punished unless they report him. Burned books except those on agriculture, medicine, and law. The system was merciless, but effective. Qun became China's most disciplined, most feared military machine. The unification between 230–221 BC. Qun King Yingzheng systematically conquered all rivals. One by one, the states fell. Han, 2030 BC. Rei, Qun 25 BC. Chu, Qun 23 BC. Yan, 2022 BC. In just 10 years, China was unified for the first time. Yingzheng took a new title, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor. Qin Dynasty, brutal efficiency, rapid collapse. Through Comfortsi, the Iron Empire. Qin Shi Huang transformed China with ruthless efficiency. Standardization, one writing system across all China, one currency, one system of weights and measures, standardized axle widths for carts, built roads connecting the empire, massive projects. The Great Wall connected and expanded previous defensive walls. Hundreds of thousands of workers labored and died. Canals for irrigation and transport. Palaces of unprecedented scale. Oppression. Book burning. 2113 BC. Ordered all books except practical manuals destroyed. Confucian classics, histories, poetry burned. Burial of scholars. 460 intellectuals were buried alive for criticizing the emperor. The Terracotta Army. Qin Shi Huang built a massive tomb complex for his afterlife. Inside, over 8,000 life-size terracotta soldiers, each with unique facial features, built by 700,000 workers. The emperor died in 2110 BC, still searching for an immortality elixir he never found. The quick collapse. His weak son Shi inherited the throne. The empire was exhausted from constant labor, heavy taxes, brutal punishments. Rebellions erupted everywhere. In 29 BC, 2 peasants named Chen Shang and Wu Guang were late for military duty. Penalty, execution. They thought, "We'll die anyway. Might as well rebel." Their uprising sparked a nationwide revolution. By 27 BC, Qin's capital had fallen. The dynasty that unified China lasted only 15 years after the first emperor's death. 2 leaders emerged from the chaos: Liu Bang, a peasant, and Shang Yu, an aristocrat. They would fight for 5 years to determine China's future. The Chu-Han War, 2622 BC. Liu Bang and Shang Yu fought for control of China. Shang Yu was the superior general, stronger, more talented, more charismatic, but he was arrogant and brutal. He massacred surrendered enemies and alienated potential allies. Liu Bang was weaker militarily, but politically brilliant. He built a team of talented advisors: Zhang Liang, strategist; Han Xin, general; Xiao He, administrator. At the Battle of Gaixia, 22 BC, Liu Bang's army surrounded Shang Yu. During the night, they sang songs from Shang Yu's homeland. Shang Yu thought his army had defected and despaired. At dawn, he attempted escape, but was cornered at a river. Rather than surrender, he killed himself. Liu Bang became Emperor Gaozu, founder of the Han Dynasty, 2006 BC. Han's foundational decisions. The Han Dynasty learned from Qin's mistakes, softened legalism's harsh edges, made Confucianism the state ideology, created the civil service examination system, officials selected by merit, not birth, balanced central control with regional autonomy. This model worked. The Han Dynasty lasted over 400 years. Emperor Wu, the ambitious conqueror. Emperor Wu ruled for 54 years and transformed Han into an empire. Military campaigns. Defeated the Xiongnu nomads in the north. Conquered Vietnam in the south. Extended into Central Asia. The Silk Road. Wu sent envoy Zhang Qian west in 1309 BC to find allies against the Xiongnu. Zhang Qian was captured and held prisoner for 10 years. He escaped, continued west to Central Asia, saw Greek-influenced kingdoms, gathered intelligence, was captured again, escaped again, and finally returned home in 125 BC after 13 years. His mission failed diplomatically, but his reports opened the Silk Road. Chinese silk reached Rome. Roman gold reached China. Buddhism traveled from India to China. Ideas, religions, and technologies flowed across Eurasia. The cost. Wu's wars nearly bankrupted the empire. He implemented state monopolies on salt and iron, heavy taxation, and debased the currency. In his final years, he issued a repentance edict, admitting his wars had gone too far. Rare for an emperor to admit mistakes. Wang Mang and the Han interruption. By 9 AD, Han faced crisis, land concentration, landless peasants, corruption, natural disasters. Wang Mang, a Confucian scholar, an imperial relative, seized power and attempted radical reforms, land redistribution, abolished slavery, currency reform, price controls, noble intentions, terrible execution. The reforms created chaos. Rich landowners sabotaged changes. Bureaucrats embezzled. The Yellow River flooded massively in 11 AD. Rebellions erupted. In 23 AD, rebels stormed the capital. Wang Mang was killed and dismembered. Later, Han dwindled into 20 AD. The Han Dynasty was restored by Emperor Guangwu, who moved the capital to Luoyang. For a century, stability returned, but gradually, eunuchs and court factions seized power. Emperors became puppets. In 1804 AD, the massive Yellow Turban Rebellion erupted, a Taoist peasant uprising that killed millions and fragmented the empire. By 220 AD, warlords controlled everything. The last Han emperor was deposed. The dynasty that defined Chinese identity for 400 years was over. China split into three kingdoms. 2028 AD China. China divided. After Han's fall, China fractured into three competing states. Wei, north, founded by Cao Cao's family, the strongest militarily. Shu, southwest, led by Liu Bei, claiming to be Han's legitimate heir. Wu, southeast, controlled by Sun Quan, dominated the Yangtze River. The Battle of Red Cliffs, 28 AD. This battle defined the period. Cao Cao led 20,000 soldiers south to conquer all of China. Liu Bei and Sun Quan formed an alliance. At the Yangtze River, Cao Cao's fleet, chained together to reduce rocking, was attacked with fire ships. The flames spread uncontrollably. Thousands burned alive. Cao Cao retreated north and never attempted southern conquest again. The legendary figures: Zhuge Liang, Shu's strategist, brilliant administrator, competent general, later mythologized as near supernatural. Guan Yu, Liu Bei's sworn brother, became a deity in Chinese folk religion. Cao Cao, portrayed as a villain in novels, but historically a brilliant administrator and poet. The demographic catastrophe. The Three Kingdoms period was romantic in literature, but horrific in reality. Han Dynasty peak population. 60 million. Population after Three Kingdoms Wars. 16 million. Where did 44 million people go? War casualties, famine, plague, banditry, and demographic collapse. In 280 AD, the Wei Kingdom, now Qin Dynasty, reunified China, but the peace lasted only 30 years before China descended into chaos again. 304-589 AD, North-South split. After the brief Qin unification, barbarian tribes invaded northern China. The Qin dynasty fled south. China divided into north, controlled by barbarian dynasties, Huns, Xianbei, Tibetans. 16 kingdoms rose and fell. Constant warfare. South, Han Chinese refuge. Relatively stable, but weak. This period was China's Dark Age, 300 years of fragmentation. But paradoxically, this was also when Buddhism spread throughout China, merging with Confucianism and Taoism to create Chinese Buddhism. Art, poetry, and philosophy flourished in the south, even as the north burned. 581-618 AD. Unity through force. General Yang Jian overthrew the northern Zhou dynasty and proclaimed himself Emperor Wendi of the Sui dynasty. In 589 AD, he conquered the south. After 300 years, China was reunified. Wendi reorganized everything, created the 3 departments and 6 ministries bureaucracy, reinstituted the examination system, built granaries to stabilize food prices, published a comprehensive legal code, effective but ruthless. Wendi eliminated political rivals, including his own relatives. He died in 604. Many historians suspect his son, Emperor Yang Di, murdered him. Emperor Yang Di, ambition without restraint. Yang Di wanted glory and built the Grand Canal, over 2,000 kilometers, connecting the Yellow and Yangtze rivers. 5 million workers were conscripted. Tens of thousands died from exhaustion and disease. But the canal worked and is still in use. 1,400 years later, the Korean disaster. Yang Di's obsession was conquering Korea. He launched 3 massive invasions, 612, 6113, 614 AD. All failed catastrophically. The first campaign mobilized over 1 million soldiers. At the Battle of Salsu River, a relief force of 300,000 was ambushed. Only 2,700 survived. The treasury was empty. The people were starving. Rebellions exploded everywhere. In 618 AD, Yang Di's own guards strangled him with a silk sash. The Sui dynasty lasted only 37 years, but it did the hard work of reunification, laying the foundation for the next great dynasty. 618-907 AD. The cosmopolitan empire general, Li Yuan, seized power during Sui's collapse and founded the Tang dynasty. His son Li Shimin, Emperor Taizong, proved to be one of China's greatest rulers. Taizong's achievements, military expansion into Central Asia, Tibet, and Korea, perfected the civil service examination system, created efficient administration, encouraged economic growth. Chang'an, world's greatest city, the Tang capital. Chang'an had over 1 million residents, the world's largest city. Merchants from Persia, Arabia, India, and Central Asia filled the markets. Buddhist temples stood beside Nestorian churches and Zoroastrian fire temples. Tang China was cosmopolitan, wealthy, and culturally dominant. The Silk Road's peak. During Tang, the Silk Road reached its height. Chinese silk, porcelain, and tea traveled west. Gold, horses, and ideas flowed east. Tang was the center of the world. Emperor Xuanzong and Yang Guifei. Emperor Xuanzong, 712-756 AD. He became obsessed with her, neglecting state affairs. Her relative Yang Guozhong became prime minister. Corruption spread. The An Lushan Rebellion, 755-763 AD. General An Lushan, a frontier commander and Xuanzong's favorite, secretly built an army. In 755 AD, he rebelled. His army swept toward Chang'an. Xuanzong fled. During the escape, His soldiers revolted. This is Yang Guifei's fault. She must die. Shenzong was forced to watch as Yang Guifei was executed. The rebellion became an 8-year civil war. 36 million people died. 15% of the world's population. Tang eventually suppressed the rebellion. But the cost was catastrophic. Economy devastated, central authority collapsed. Provincial governors became warlords. Tang never recovered its former glory. Tang's decline. After 763 AD, Tang limped along for another 144 years. Eunuchs controlled the palace. Regional warlords ignored the emperor. Peasant rebellions increased. The Huang Chao Rebellion, 874, 884, 884, AD 84, AD 8, 907, 960. Fragmentation. Again.
After Tang's fall, northern China saw 5 short-lived dynasties in 53 years. The south split into 10 independent kingdoms. Chaos returned.
In 960 AD, General Zhao Kuangyin was proclaimed emperor by his soldiers. He founded the Shang Dynasty. 960 to 702, 709 AD. Song's foundational choice. Zhao Kuangyin, Emperor Taizu, made a critical decision: prevent military coups by weakening the military. He invited top generals to a banquet and said, "Why not retire? I'll give you estates, wealth, and comfort." They agreed. The military was systematically weakened. Generals rotated frequently. Civilian bureaucrats controlled the army. Elite troops stationed in the capital. Weak troops at the border. Result: Song had a huge army, over 1 million soldiers. But it was poorly trained and poorly positioned. Internal security was achieved. External defense was compromised. Economic revolution. Despite military weakness, Song's economy was extraordinary. Innovations. Paper money, jiaozi. World's first government-issued currency. Movable type printing. Books became affordable. Gunpowder weapons. Bombs, rockets, fire lances. Compass navigation. Merchant ships reached India and Africa. Urbanization. Over 10% of the population lived in cities. Kaifeng, capital, had over 1 million residents. Markets operated day and night. Agricultural revolution. Introduction of fast-growing champa rice. Multiple harvests per year. Population grew from 60 million to 120 million. Song China was the world's most advanced economy. But wealth couldn't buy military strength. The northern shame. The Liao problem. The Khitan people established the Liao dynasty in the north, controlling strategic territory. Song tried to reconquer it. They failed. In 1005 AD, Song signed the Treaty of Shanyuan, agreeing to pay Liao 100,000 taels of silver and 200,000 bolts of silk annually. Humiliating but pragmatic. Peace lasted over a century, and tribute was cheaper than constant war. The Jurchen people rebelled against Liao and established the Qin Dynasty. Song unwisely allied with Jin to destroy Liao. After Liao fell, Jin immediately turned on Song. The Jin Kong Incident, 1127 AD. Jin armies besieged Kaifeng. After months of starvation, the city surrendered. Jin captured both emperors, Huizong and Qinzong, along with 3,000 members of the imperial family. They were marched north to Manchuria and spent the rest of their lives in poverty and humiliation. This is one of China's deepest historical traumas. Southern Song, 1127 to 1279 AD. One prince escaped, Zhao Go. He fled south, declared himself Emperor Gaozong, and re-established Song in Hangzhou. The north was lost forever, but the south was wealthy. Hangzhou, the beautiful capital. Marco Polo called Hangzhou the finest and most splendid city in the world. West Lake, gardens, markets, theaters, restaurants. Hangzhou became the model Chinese city. The Yue tragedy. General Yue won battles against Jin, pushing north, seemingly on the verge of reclaiming the lost territory. But Emperor Gaozong and Prime Minister Qin Hui wanted peace. They recalled Yue and executed him on fabricated treason charges. For centuries, Yue was celebrated as a patriotic martyr. Qin Hui was despised as a traitor. The symbolism. loyalty betrayed by political calculation.